your blessings here in your house. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to be called by the Lord this time. Lord, we thank you. Never let us down. Thank you that you have created us perfectly, O God. Salamat, Panginoon. Lord, oh Lord Jesus, Lord, you're not perfect, God. Lord, we know for sure we are a crack at, oh God. Meron kami designer, the perfect, oh God. Ikaw, Panginoon, Jesus. Salamat na po kami dadapa, Panginoon. For calling us once again. Thank you for calling us back to you, Panginoon. Thank you, O God, for we cannot do anything apart from you, O God. You are a beautiful Savior, wonderful Savior, O God. Church, make this song prayer, a prayer song for all of us.
Your word
anyone here, oh God, that are struggling, Panginoon. Lord, I pray that they will find ways back to you, oh God. They will find ways back to you, Panginoon. If there's here, Panginoon, a broken heart, make them whole, Panginoon. Make them whole, oh God. Lord, we thank you that you never fail us, oh God. You never give up on us, Panginoon. Salamat, O Lord, that by kneeling, O God, before you, Panginoon, experience heaven, O God. Thank you for listening to us, O God. Thank you right now, O God, that I know that you are here, looking in our hearts, Panginoon. Thank you, Father. Salamat for your presence, O God. Reveal yourself, Panginoon. Reveal yourself to us, O God. Hallelujah. Oh Lord Jesus, you deserve all the highest praise of your people, Panginoon. Palakpakan po natin ang ating Panginoon. Lord, our lives be blessed. We praise you, Lord. We magnify you, Lord, oh God. Praise you, we adore you, Panginoon. We love you, oh God. Salamat, O Jesus. Thank you, Lord. In all these things.
Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Kung naiinitan ng marami natin, it's really hot these past days and we are about to start yung ating Ramadan. We are thankful that we have this weather. Ano mo natin sa Pilipinas, it's a wonderful time. Many of us would like to have this vacation kapag sa ganitong panahon, di ba? Because ang ibig sabihin niyan, maraming swimming, di ba? Of course, yung ayaw lang naman natin is that we sweat a lot kapag summer sa Pilipinas. So, we are torn between whether to enjoy summer or just be contented with staying at home. But summer is also a wonderful time for the farmers. Alam natin yan. Many times it's the time for planting, it's the time for harvesting. Okay, so summer is always expected. And it's interesting that in Palestine, in Israel particularly, summertime is actually one of the happiest time because it also involves the harvest time. Okay? At pag may harvest, siyempre ito yung pinakamasayang panahon sa mga nagtatanim at sa farming. In their situation, harvest time is always holidays involves festivities or different feasts. Maraming fiesta, maraming celebration. Sa atin sa Pilipinas, ganun din naman po. Kaya ang harvest time is always a joyful time for the farmers or the harvesters. Ito yung pinaka-expect nila. That's why the joy that is involved in harvest time is indeed tremendous. Talagang very excited ang bawat magsasaka at ang mga nagtatanim sa panahon na ito. Dahil alam nila ang kaulugan nito. It's really produced and it would mean even money for them. That's why maraming masaya kapag summer time or harvest time. Diba? And I believe the same thing when it comes to a spiritual harvest. They have a very, very good resemblance because there's a saying, meron po nagsabi nito, that show me a church without a harvest and I'll show you a church without joy. Show me a church without a harvest and I'll show you a church without joy. Why? Because it is the harvest that brings joy sa isang iglesia. We've studied that 2 weeks ago that even the heavens rejoices whenever one soul repents and comes back to the Lord. At totoo po yan. That's why there's tremendous joy whenever it is harvest time. And even the Lord Jesus Christ had shown many, many times that there are things that He's not pleased with. May mga bagay na hindi siya natutuwa. Ano po yun? First, if you still remember in the scripture, the first thing na hindi siya natutuwa is that when you're fishing without catching. Kapag nanguhuli ka ng isda na hindi ka nakakahuli. Remember when He called the first disciples, yung kanyang mga alagad? Nang una niyang tawagin sila Pedro, they were actually catching fish. But wala silang huli. I don't know, but will you stay fishing without catching? Parang boring nga tayo. Pero alam natin, dyan matatapang yung ating mga kalalakihan. Kahit wala silang huli, nagpupuyat sila sa magdamag. Okay? Pero napaka-boring yata na nanguhuli kayo na isda, wala kayong nanguhuli. Ilang beses na nilang ginawa yan, pero at kapag naman nakahuli sila, kahit gadilis na yung nahuli. Talaga namang pinagmamalaki na gusto yan. Okay? But even the Lord Jesus Christ was not pleased when the disciples were catching fish without, or fishing without catching. Twice, He was able to encourage the disciples. The first time when He called them to be His disciples. The second time when Peter turned his back from the Lord and he went back to fishing, wala din siyang huli, but suddenly the Lord Jesus Christ said, throw your fish net, and suddenly there was a tremendous fish that was caught. Okay. So, Jesus would like them to experience the joy of catching fish while fishing. So He's not pleased whenever we fish without catching something. Another situation that we'll find in the Bible that Jesus is not pleased is that the parable of the great banquet, where He prepared a great banquet and yet there were no visitors or guests present. Okay, that is found in Luke chapter 14, verse 21 to 23. Naganda siya ng isang piging at nag-invite siya sa labas. It was actually parable. And yet, there were no visitors, walang dumating, walang pumunta. And so He asked the people to bring everyone na makikita nila sa lansangan. Lahat ng may sakit, lahat ng mga ulubi. Sabi niya, sila papuntahin ninyo. And sabi nung taguhan doon sa piging, Lord, we have already invited everyone on the streets, but still there's a place. Sabi niya, humayo pa kayo. At kung kailangan yung atakin yung mga tao sa kalsada, atakin nyo sila. Showing the full intent of God to really bring people into His kingdom. And so, Jesus had shown that He's not pleased with a banquet without people or an empty banquet. And the last thing that you'll find, maybe you'll still remember, if you happen to read in the scripture, one time that the Lord was not pleased is that when He saw a fig tree without a fruit. Naalala niyo ba yun? Nakakita siya ng puno, ang puno ng Where's the ganda fig? Igos daw. Okay? I don't know if you have tried eating the fruit of a fig tree. Okay? Masarap po yan. Very, very, sabihin na natin nutritious. And nakatikim pa ako niyan sa US. Isang tanim na isang pastor. But Jesus, noticing the tree, madami siyang sanga, marami siyang daon, but there was no fruit. And so, sabi niya, mabuti pang putulin nyo na lang yung puno na yan. And the people asked for some more time, Lord, baka naman magbunga sa susunod. At least may shade. But he wasn't after for the shade, he was after for the fruit. So Jesus was not pleased for a tree that has no fruit. And I believe, even so, for the church and for the kingdom of God, Jesus is not pleased whenever there's no harvest for the church or for His kingdom. Makikita po natin yan. Because a farm that has no harvest is only considered as a hobby farm. Diba? Yung hobby farm, may kadalasan ginagawa po yan ng mga retired na tao, na pagkatapos nilang maghanap buhay for such a long time, they'll go back to the country, buy a small piece of land, or maybe utilize that para sa isang fish pan, or maybe magtatanim ng mga halaman. Some of them are already contented in doing that without expecting anything. Diba? That's why it's called a hobby farm. A hobby farm does not need a harvest. But sadly, sabi ng isang commentator, there's churches who became hobby churches rather than a harvest church. That's why this afternoon, let me encourage you, mga kapatid, that we are in the journey of being a harvest church. So how can we be a harvest church? Let me propose to you that a harvest church knows the fundamentals of a spiritual harvest. Para isang iglesia ay totoong umani, pag isang iglesia na umaani, kinakailangan malaman niya ang mga essentials and fundamentals involved in a spiritual harvest. Kailangan maging malinaw sa kanya ano ang mga kinakailangan matutunan ng isang iglesia for them to be able to experience the harvest, which is a source of joy from the Lord. So, this afternoon, let me entitle our message this afternoon as Harvest 101. Harvest 101. It means the fundamentals of a spiritual harvest. And our passage is found in Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 to 10. I'll be requesting again everyone to please rise in honor of the reading of God's Word. Galatians chapter 6, verses 7 to 10. At sabay-sabay po natin babasahin because we'll just be reading 4 verses and we'll read it loud. Okay? Galatians chapter 6, verses 7 to 10. Ready? Begin. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mad. A man reaps what he sows. The one sows to please his sinful nature, from that nature will reap destruction. The one sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. Praise be to the reading of His Word. You may be seated, please. Mula sa mga talatan ko, mga kapatid, we'll be considering three things. The fundamentals that we have to understand for us to be able to experience harvest and to be engaged in harvest. Okay? May tatlong bagay po tayo dapat matutunan which are really basic when it comes to spiritual harvest. The first thing that we need to learn, to understand, is that we need to know the basic truth about harvest. Okay? The basic truth of a harvest. The verse that we are looking at this is that first verse that we read in verse 7. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mad. A man reaps what he sows. Okay? Kung anong kanyang tinatanim, yun din ang kanyang aanihin. Take note that the Apostle Paul was giving a warning on this passage. said, do not be deceived. So tatanungin po natin, huwag kayong padadaya. Huwag kayong padadaya. Stop being led astray. Why? Because in the time that the Apostle Paul is writing this letter, among the Galatian believers to the church in Galatia, there were actually people who were leading others to astray. Ibig sabihin, meron nagtuturo ng mali. Particularly, yung mga nagsasabing, para maging katanggap-tanggap ka sa Diyos, you need to follow the law of Moses and you need to be circumcised. Okay? Ito po yung mga Judaizers. So they were teaching that they have, the believers in Galatia, that they have to observe circumcision and observe the law of Moses again for them to really to belong to God. But of course, that's not the teaching that the Apostle Paul had proclaimed before nung nakilala nilang Panginoon. It is only by grace through faith in the Son, in His Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. So marami ko silang naluloko. That's why Paul, we're telling the believers, do not be deceived. And then he followed it with words like, God cannot be mocked. Ang Diyos ay hindi pwedeng alipustahin or hamakin, hindi pwedeng lukuhin. Okay? This is the problem, ladies and gentlemen, for people who are trying to deceive other people. They are deceived to believe that they can deceive even God. That's why Paul was actually saying to them, God cannot be mocked. God cannot be fooled. Hindi pwedeng madaya ang Diyos. Why? Because they thought that God is not aware of what they're doing. They can escape the normal consequence of their actions. They keep on doing something that destroys the church, okay? And they thought that they can get away from that. Kala nila, matatakasan nila. It might be in a situation where God seemingly is silent, but no, they cannot fool God because God had already set a principle that everyone in this world should realize and always remember sa kanilang pamumuhay. And what is that? A man reaps what he sows. Ibig sabihin, sa Tagalog, madalas natin sinasabing, ano man ang iyong itananim, siyang iyong aanihin. Okay? When God created this world, He already set the universal laws that will give order and run this world. Iba'y nagtataka, Pastor, paano ba talaga kinukontrol ng Diyos ang mundong ito? Mga kapatid, bago pa man nalangin ng Panginoon, He knows how to run this world. And in fact, the Bible is also very clear. When He created this world, He established an ordinance or laws that will govern this world. We call it the natural laws. Okay? Jeremiah recognized this with his word. In chapter 33, verse 25, this is what the Lord says. If I have not established my covenant with day and night, and the fixed laws of heaven and earth. May karugtong po kasi yan, pinutong ko lang. Pero dito pinapakita ni Jeremiah that he recognized that God established this world with a fixed laws that will govern this world and run it. Okay? Naglagay ang Panginoon ng mga batas na siyang magbibigay ng ayusan at ng order sa mundong ito kung paano itong tatakbo. Ang tawag po doon ay natural laws. But when God violates those natural laws, we call it the supernatural laws or action of God, which is miracle. Okay? Para po yung iba, mabilis na maunawaan. Kapag dinilate ng Panginoon yung kanyang itinalaga na pamantayan, mga batas at sistema, ang tawag po doon ay supernatural law. He overruled the natural law. Okay? A good example is the virgin birth of the Lord Jesus Christ. Okay? That's why it's a miracle. He violated the natural law that a man and a woman, okay, dapat magsiping at makakabuo ng isang anak. But Jesus was born not from Joseph, but only from Mary. It was actually a disruption of the natural law. That is a miracle. And God established the natural laws, not sa ganon, there is order. At merong kaayusan sa mundong ito. And now, even our world recognizes that. Mga kapatid, kahit po tayo sa mundo ngayon, napag-aralan po natin yan sa ating mga Science 101. Okay? Meron tayong tinatawag na law of gravity. Ano bang nasa itaas ay babagsak because it is being pulled down no gravity, which is the center of the earth. Okay? Napuklasan po yan na Isaac Newton because of an apple who fell, sabi nila, but other scientists do not affirm that. Okay? Bumagsak sa ulo na ni Isaac Newton yung apple and he started to think why the apple is falling on his head. Bakit nga hindi pataas? Laging pababa. Diba? Of course, atin tatawanan natin sila ngayon dahil alam natin because of the law of gravity. But on this, we'll appreciate, alam natin na ang mundo ay paikot. How come everything on earth na nakapatong dito ay hindi lumulutang sa alapa? Why? Because the law of gravity is pulling them together on the center of the earth. The law of gravity. That is also one natural law that God has set in this world to put order and run this world. Meron na tayong tinatawag na the law of cause and effect. For every action, there is a cause and there's a reaction. Meron ng mga prinsipyo na kinilagay ang Panginoon na nagpapatakbo sa ating mundo. The law of polarity, which means and states that everything has an opposite. If there is hot, there is cold. If there is light, there is darkness. If there's up, there is down. If there's good, there is bad. That's the law of polarity. Now, when it comes to spiritual harvest, Jesus or Paul mentioned this law, the law of the harvest, which states that a man will reap what he sows. Ano man kanyang itanim, yun ang kanyang aanihin. Now you may ask, Pastor, bakit minsan nagkasala ako, pero hindi ko naranasan yung kaparusahan na aking kasalanan? What do you think is the answer? You should be punished, but you were not punished. Ang tawag po dyan is the mercy of God. Kinaabagan ka ng Diyos. Okay? Now, God extended another goodness through His mercy. But the natural law, the common thing to happen is that you will reap whatever you are sowing. Okay? But God still is sovereign. Okay? He may decide not to punish you or may decide to allow the natural law to fall unto you. Okay? In that sense, hindi po rin siya unjust. Saan po natin nararanasan yan? Some of the laws. Okay? When you go and look at your Bible, in Deuteronomy chapter 28, you will find some of the quoted and claimed promises among Christians when it comes to blessing. Okay? Sabi ng Panginoon doon, binigay through Moses. Isa lang sekreto. And what is the law? If you obey, you will be blessed. If you disobey, you will be cursed. Ang daming sinabi ng Panginoon kung anong blessing ang mararanasan mo kapag sumusunod ka. Ang dami ring sumpa na mararanasan mo kapag hindi ka sumusunod. Ang tawag po dyan is natural law. Okay? So yung po yung common na paraan ng Panginoon to deal with us. But ladies and gentlemen, again, God is God, He is sovereign. He can transcend that because He is sovereign. He can decide whether you will be punished or not. Because sometimes He has to violate the law out of His goodness. Okay? At hindi natin pwede questionin yan. But one thing I'm telling you right now, it is natural that whatever we have sown, that we are going to reap. Expect po natin yan. Kung ano man yung ating tananim, yun yung ating aanihin. Okay. There's a story about two farmers, neighbor farmers. One is an old farmer, another one is a young farmer. They were actually quarreling And the young farmer was a little bit vindictive. Talagang nagtatanim siya ng sama ng loob. Sama ng loob nito sa old farmer because of an issue with the way they were doing their farming. And so this guy, this young guy, thought of something that would at least vindicate him and at least get his vengeance towards the old farmer. He decided to buy a kind of grass that is not easy to be destroyed, that sticks in the soil, and that you can only destroy for a long term. Okay? So that evening, after he bought the grass, he planted that doon sa soil at sa land ng old farmer. Lo and behold, sure enough, the next days, those grass grew and multiplied. The old farmer tried to remove them and destroy every grass, but to no avail, because he found out that the grass is known to be indeed a troubling grass that stays and sticks in the soil. Diba? May mga damo na mahirap patayin. Yun yung itinanim at yun yung tumubo dun sa lupa ng matandang magsasaka. All throughout his life, the remaining years of the old farmer were just spent in removing the grass on his field. And later on, he got sick and just stayed on the bed. Now, it so happened that the young farmer who planted those grass had and was able to have an intimate relationship with the daughter of the old farmer. Nagustuhan niya yung anak ng old farmer, niligawan niya, naging sila, and then they decided, bago pa man malagot ng hininga yung tatay ng babae, the old farmer, to get married. And they did. Nagpakasal po sila, nagsama sila, and the old farmer did, what the old farmer did is that, after the wedding, he called the young farmer and the lady, I'm about to die, and I think I have to leave my field to you. Pinamana ng matandang magsasaka yung kanyang lupa doon sa mag-asawa, lalo na doon sa lalaki. So the simple story goes that the young farmer were the ones who inherited the land, spending all his life removing all the grass, destructive grass, that he himself had planted on the soil. Whatever you have sown, that you will reap. Ano man ang iyong tinanim, yun ang iyong aanihin. You cannot violate the law, only God can do that. The natural law says, this is the natural consequence of our action and our dealing with one another. Ano man ang iyong itinanim, yun ang iyong aanihin. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are going to be involved in the harvest, we need to know this principle, and we have to remember this principle. If you like an apple fruit to be harvested, we need to plant and sow an apple seed. Kung ano ating tinanim, yun po yung ating aanihin.